We oftentimes try to work on our weaknesses, but instead, what we should do is amplify your strengths. I was probably not so good at A. I hated traveling. I could have focused so much energy in trying to be good at operations and all of that. And then I already had an unfair advantage. What does unfair advantage really mean? Probably area that you are already really good at and probably have this advantage at it. I speak so beautifully. People often comment about how excellent I am in communications and all of that. And I write really beautifully as well. So all of these things are already unfair advantage I have that can make me advance quickly in marketing because I can perceive things that others wouldn't and all of this. So that would help me prepare for a tremendous career in marketing.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Conversations with Ola. And this is a place where we have real talk about life, choices, growth, direction, career, and of course, business. Here, we use no script and no pressure, just honest conversations with people who are figuring things out, building, learning, and becoming better every day. Joining me today is an amazing young man. Uh, I think I met him, well, not actually met in person, but we had some
Exactly.
conversation, maybe 4 years now, 5 years. And I've seen him actually,
Probably.
yeah, maybe more, but I've seen him, transition. I've seen him grow from being a student to an amazing young man doing wonderful things in the marketplace today. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Tomilola Mustapha. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Yeah, thank you so much. So great to have you. Uh, to be here, really. I really appreciate it, Chelsea.
Awesome, awesome. So who is Tomilola Mustapha? I mean, do you like to be called Tommy or, the entire thing, Tomilola?
Okay, so I think I prefer Tomilola, but particularly for people who are closer to me. For every other person, Tomi works. But for people I have better relationship with, I think I prefer Tomilola. Probably has this depth of emotion to it when you call Tomilola that I would want to be exclusive to more closer people.
Awesome, awesome. So who is Tomilola?
Okay, so Tomilola, quite honestly, it's difficult to. So Tomilola probably is a marketing professional with about 4 years of experience in marketing. I had my background in, what's it called, sciences, and then transition from operations into the marketing field. I prefer to be called Tomilola or Tomilola Brain. Tomilola Brain is probably one of my. It's a nickname that has been with me since childhood and that has stuck for a while. What do I enjoy? I enjoy reading. I have a ton of plants at home as well. So I do enjoy gardening. I have quite a number of them, and probably that's what excites me the most. Uh, Having to see my plants grow and then the new follicle coming up. It really does excite me. And that's where I spend most of my time really. If I'm not working, I'm probably just gardening or taking care of my plants. And I don't enjoy music so much. I don't enjoy videos. I barely watch movies. But yeah, my plants probably give me the biggest joy. So yeah, that's it. And I don't like being called a plant dad. I just don't like.
It's funny that you said that because that was actually that was in my mind. To actually call you a plant dad. Personally, I do have a lot of plants too, but they're mostly plastic because I like the effects that plants have, especially in the place, where you live, for, aesthetics. And of course, most plants also clean, the air. They make the air refreshed. But in 3 years or 4 years, I think I've had like 4 plants and they've all died. I actually had a friend come, a friend gave me a plant and from my previous job, and I've been told that there's no way, that this plant is pretty much going to die. And it's called a snake plant. Um, you know. Anyway, long story short, I succeeded in killing the plant, and then she was angry and had to come pick it up. So now I just buy, artificial plants. I have a ton of them in my house, but thank you for actually mentioning that. I was about calling you a plant that, but that's okay. So
Yeah,
beyond you taking care of plants, what else do you like to do for fun? That's just it. You're not an outgoing person. You don't watch soccer. You don't play soccer. What else? You
Not
don't
at all.
play video games?
I don't play video games. I enjoy talking to friends as well. So I can be on long conversation in my free time, talking to friends as well. I think that's also one thing I enjoy.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm not talking to friends, I'm probably reading or looking at my plants or trying to get a new plant. Quite strangely, I also enjoy the supermarkets. So if there's any place I enjoy visiting, it's not going to club, it's probably going to the supermarkets. So I have very, very, very strange ways, things that excites me for some reason. So going to the supermarket and probably just window shopping excites me more than me going to the club or what else could I use? Or even going to, I don't know, a fun park or something. Yeah, I probably find more joy in the supermarket.
I honestly don't understand that concept. Maybe I can learn one or two things from you, though. For me, every time I
Yeah.
try to shop, I'm this kind of person that I know what I want to buy. I go to the aisle, I pick it up, and I'm out. I don't window shop. I actually hate it. So I
Really?
have friends who, they love it. They want to spend 2 hours just walking down every part of the store, but I don't think it's for me. So what excites you about shopping?
Okay, so maybe because of abundance of colors in one place.
Hmm.
Maybe it's because of it also really helps me just to get lost in thoughts, maybe also looking at so many things at the same time as well. And also maybe because it then influences how I also see things or how I see the world and all of that. There's just a lot of product and I'm thinking, oh, how did this get here? Just a lot of thoughts around a lot of things, really. I think it's probably the distraction that excites me.
That makes sense. I do appreciate you sharing that. The distraction actually makes a ton of sense to me. So, what was it like growing up for you? Are you from a rich home? Were you spoiled, silly? Are you a nepo baby? Are you a rich kid? What was growing up like for you?
Okay, so what's in between Nepo and Lapo? Maybe that's where I'll place myself. What's because I wasn't Nepo, neither was I Lapo. We just had a good life. It was just a good life, really. We could afford basic needs or typically needs and went to a good school. I don't think I ever slept hungry any day. My dad was also a really super hardworking person as well. Um, One fact, I didn't grow up with my mom at all. She spent most of her life abroad. Growing up, she probably left me when I was about 4 years old and came back when I was like 14 or so, 15 thereabout. So I also didn't grow up with my dad. So my mom, so I spent more time with my dad. I have two sisters, two older sisters. So I was the last child, and I have two older sisters as well. Quite honestly, being the last one isn't as exciting as people often think it is. It's probably more work than more fun because they just think you have access to all of these things and everyone pampers you. But it's quite different. My family probably washed more dishes than I would ever wash in my lifetime growing up as a kid. So yeah, it was just a medium life, maybe. We could afford everything we needed, but maybe not want, but at least needs were covered.
Awesome. Were you a smart kid in school?
I probably share a story. It was one day I then figured I was actually super smart. It was just like I randomly heard a teacher say, "Oh, another teacher that will please just let me call any smart person you see while you're walking." Then the next person the person could call was myself, and there was like a large class and all of that. So I think it was at that point I was quite a gentle person growing up, really also very lanky and skinny also growing up. So I wasn't often that like I didn't think I was like the first choice when it comes to getting to do things and all. So when that happened, it didn't make me realize that okay, maybe I underestimate myself. I probably have more things going on than I really think. So that probably brought so much realization that oh, they just said, oh, call the smartest person you could see, or call someone super smart. And then I was the first person the person could think about at all. Even if I didn't have all of the physical strength, because I wasn't playful, I didn't do all of those things. But then did see that oh, I can get to achieve things in more smarter way than requiring physical strength. So yeah, that did point me in that direction, and I began to see myself as a someone really smart. Yeah. So I'll probably say maybe.
Okay. So would you describe yourself as, an A student, a B student, a C student? How would you describe yourself?
Okay.
And the
So
reason why I asked that question is because I know that sometimes smartness has nothing to do with, your grades. Yes, in school sometimes, but there's a lot of, things that, you have to put together to be able to say, hey, someone is smart. And doesn't, always have to do with, just your subjects alone. But academically, were you an A or B or C student?
I'd say an A and B student, maybe. So yeah, probably third position, fourth position, second position sometimes, you know. So yeah, I was quite smart academically as well. I did have good grades, but primary school, maybe I did get the first position a few times, but never in secondary school. So there were quite a number of people who I always try to compete with. So yeah, between the A and B, maybe.
Are you competitive?
It depends. So I'm quite competitive. In yeah, I think I'll say I am quite competitive really, because I often don't want to be, and that's why I find it difficult to also learn new things sometimes, because I hate being an amateur at things. I want to be the best in everything I lay my head on. So if I am not the best, and if I don't have an unfair advantage, sometimes I'll rather not do it. So yeah, I'm quite competitive. I definitely always want to win every single thing I do.
What what year did you get to university?
I think that was 2015. I think I
How
went to uni
many
in 2015.
how many exams or why did you have to write for you to make it into university?
Good question. So I wrote WAEC maybe once, but then I also wrote GC that same year. So I wrote GC, I wrote ECHO, I wrote WAEC. At the same time, I had poor results, not so poor, but I didn't make all five A's of all five credits in my WAEC, so I had to use my GC instead. So I made my papers all five credits in one GC. So yeah, that was a lifesaver. So I wrote JAM, I think twice as well. I wrote in SS2 and then I wrote in SS3. But I did still spend a year at home before getting into uni afterwards.
Awesome. So I mean, obviously you're one of the smart ones. I did jump 6 times. And not because I didn't get the course I wanted at some point.
Mhm.
All the first two was because I didn't get what I wanted. The rest was I wasn't doing well because the thing is, the longer you stay outside, of school,
Exactly.
I had started working. I had a business at the time. I just knew I wanted to go to school, and so it was a struggle getting in. But eventually, I mean, it happens. Here, I do have a younger brother who is now in Canada. I mean, he passed. He's the first on the first try. He passed it,
No,
and then
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So but I mean, if I've learned anything in life, it's that regardless of the amount of failures that you come across, if you keep trying, at some point, you're gonna break through. That's one of my personal experiences and lessons I've learned in life. So tell me about university. I know you went to a specialized university, and the reason why I call it specialized is there are different kinds of universities in Nigeria. There's regular university, and then we have the University of Technology. But this was the very first time, the very first university of its kind, I think, in Africa itself.
Hmm?
University of Education or for education. What? Why did you choose that school?
Okay. Not to sound problematic, but I didn't choose it at all. So this was
Okay.
what happened. I was registering for JAM, University of Lagos, and then second choice, Lagos State University and all. And then
Okay.
the person registering the uni was like, I know you get into UNIVAC already, so but then a lot of people are already choosing Lagos State University, so the competition is quite fierce there. How about I just put something random there for you? And the something random was the entire Shuler University of Education and all. So yeah, that's typically how I got in. It was just a random taught by someone who was registering me for jam. Not like I probably never heard about TASUD until the person registered me. And then I went to take the post UTME for TASUD. So it was never of interest. Quite honestly, I've had people tell me I am really good at teaching. I'm able to impact people with knowledge, especially growing up. I did teach Sunday school. I did teach a few times my friends and then cousins as well. And oftentimes when I just take time to teach people things, they get it quite quickly. So I've had people tell me, "Oh, Tomi, you're actually really good at teaching and all of that." But I never had interest in education. I wanted to be a medical doctor instead. So I was looking to study medicine in Unilag, but probably I wasn't smart enough to get into Unilag to study medicine. So I eventually got into tertiary, studied biology at tertiary. Yeah, that was my journey into uni. I didn't even want to go right post UTME that day. I just randomly decided, let me just go and see whatever happens. Not like I would ever come to this uni in the first place.
So, what was your first impression when you got to the school?
My first impression, quite honest, is I can never come here. There's nothing that's gonna bring me here. Because at that point, I already had my mind made up that it was Unilag or nothing. There was nothing that was gonna bring me out of Unilag. I just thought it was just going to be Unilag, no other thing. Because I have my older sister graduates from Unilag as well. So I was already saying I'm definitely going to Unilag as well. So yeah, that was it. But then when I went to write my post UTM, I came across a slip on the wall. It was one of those wall posters and all. And I was then talking about a competition that they were going to have and something. Then I think students would be selected to represent the uni and all. And I don't know, something just told me, I think I would want to represent my uni in so many competitions and all of that when I saw that slip. I think it was pasted around OGD at that time. I didn't know what building was at that time, but I just went to my museum and I saw it and then it did interest me. So I did read it and then I saw all students doing it and that did excite me a little bit, but I never still thought I would ever come to TASUD.
So, but this was when did you come across that slip or document?
It was like maybe 2015 when I post UTME.
Oh,
for
you saw
TASUD.
that document, that slip, before you even became a student.
Exactly. I saw that before I became a student.
That is wild. Okay. Oh,
I did see before I became a student and I just found it really interesting.
okay. So, and the reason why I intentionally asked that question is because most people that I, you know, came across as an undergrad in Taishala University didn't want to come to that school.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I've been to maybe 8 universities or 9 universities. I've been to Ife, I actually did a diploma in LASU in 2005. I've been to LAUTECH. I've been to UNAD. I've been to UNAB. I've been to Unilag. I live very close to LASU. I'm like 10 minutes away from LASU or Joe. Pretty, a lot of universities I've been to. And then I come to Taishalani and I'm like, wait, this looks like a secondary school. It's much more developed now. It's much more better now. But I'm like, there is no way,
Absolutely.
there is absolutely no way I'm gonna study here. This is not, but I had to, study there because here was I've done 6 years at home, going back and forth, and then I eventually get into Taishalani and I'm still saying I don't. So eventually I was just like, well, I'm gonna just go through, the school, but I'm not gonna be a part of anything on campus. I just want to come and study. I don't even want to make friends with anybody in this place. Just want to come and do my thing and then just go home. But my personality wouldn't allow me to do that. And I think from the very first day, I really started making friends, started connecting with people. And the rest they say is history. It's not where I wanted to go, but I'm glad I did, attend that university eventually because I think that's one of the opportunities I had on that university and may not have had those elsewhere. So what was university like for you? Was it an exciting time on campus? And what's your fondest memory of what you remember being a student on campus?
Okay. I'd start with the day my dad dropped me off in TASUD. I called him that same day that he should come and pick me, that I'm not schooling here for any reason. So Immediately he dropped me off, he left, and I then called him afterwards that he should come and pick me. I am not schooling here. He still makes mockery of me with that same sense a few times. And he's like, oh, come and pick me, I'm not staying here. Because it was a very, very different experience. I had never experienced being away from home that way. And also the environment was completely different as well. It was a place I've never been to. And I was like, no, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna stay here for any reason, come and pick me. So yeah, that's how we started. And then I started going to classes, made a few friends in class, and uh did my first year. I'd said after my first year I'm probably leaving because I just didn't want to come there, probably write jam again and leave at all. But I think around when my first year, moving on to my second year, it gradually became interesting because I did find something really, really purpose driven for me there. And I think that's what really changed my perspective about life. So something Steve Jobs say, and it's that, or he said in one of the commencement speech he had, that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect it looking backward. And I think that's what really happened to me, where I didn't want to come to Tassud, and but then it was really where life wanted me to go through. So I think moving on to my second year in uni, I then found something really exciting. I was in church that day and then someone walked up to me and said, oh, I'd like you to think about joining a particular organization I'm a part of. We're currently recruiting and then I'd like you to be a part of this and all of that. I was like, oh, what's it about? He told me about it and then I was like, oh, sure, I'd like to attend the interview. And then I went for the interview session. And quite honestly, I got hooked from the first instance that I knew this is exactly where I wanted to be. So that was really it. And then that's probably how I found my way into an actors, which probably shaped most of my undergraduate years more than any other thing. So yeah, that's how I found an actors. It was just someone church walking up to me and saying, "Oh, I think you should be a part of this. You're gonna find it really interesting," and that's how I found it. And quite honestly, the only reason I didn't leave Tasso was probably because of an actors. Finding an actors in my second year probably made me never to consider writing jam again.
So, is there a particular scenario that when you remember today makes you smile? While on campus, of course, a situation that you went through that you would say um, made a huge impact on you as a person.
All right. It was probably my interview session at Enactus, post interview. So we did the interview, and then I got an email that I got selected, and I've been invited for the second to join the team basically, and they'll be having a meeting on a certain day and all. So I joined the meeting. I left my house. I went for the meeting, and it was like their first business meeting. So I go there, and then I was the only undergrad. Oh, sorry, I was the only new recruits that joined the meeting that day. So the communication was that there was probably a WhatsApp group I was meant to join, and on that WhatsApp group, I only received the email, but then I think the email directed me to then join the WhatsApp, which I probably missed. And on that WhatsApp group, they had communicated that, oh, recruits are not expected to join the meeting anymore, that we should not join the meeting. So I didn't find that communication. So I joined the meeting. And then I got there, and then the team lead was going to count the number of team members she had present that day. And then she started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then got to me and did half, 13 and a half. That day was probably the worst day of my life. I have never felt so much humiliated to be referred to as a half was probably one of the most painful thing. And then it was like I was like, nah, she shouldn't have done this and all. But quite that thing she did, and I was like, for this same reason, I would ensure that the same position she held, that she probably could have called me and half. I would have to hold that same position before I leave here. So I'll prove that I'm more than a half. I know. So that was it. Really, it was being called an half at an access from my first business meeting there,
Wow.
and then it was very, very, very painful. Yeah, so that's probably one memorable thing I had.
I mean, I do appreciate the fact that it may not be funny to you at the time, but you saw a reason to actually motivate yourself to want to hold, that leadership position. You just wanted to prove yourself. I think that, um, that I'm sure that situation or scenario, stayed with you for a very long time. You kind of prove yourself that, look, I'm much more than, what, I look like to you today. For me, it would be, as a 300 level student, and most people don't know this. I think maybe very 3 or 4 people would remember the situation. We just had a new director for entrepreneurship on campus, and I think I've never seen him before. And he was just made the new ENT director for the school. And the moment I heard about that, I was a 300 level student. Um, I called 3 people, I think for me, Bukola, and one other person. And I said, hey, let's go say hello to this man. But I was, a member of an ethos at the time. I was the team lead at the time, was on teaching practice. And so he handed over the responsibility of the team to me just in the interim. So he will come back once a week. But, for the other days of the week, I was responsible for the daily activities of the team. And I remember walking into this man's office. First, he was like, "What are these young kids just barging into my office?" Because I just knocked, and then he's like, "Who's there?" And I'm like, "Me, son." He was like, "Me, who?" And I, mentioned my name, and then said, "Come on in." So I walked in, and, we had documents about an actor. And so I'm like, "Well, my name is XYZ, and these are, my colleagues. We are, students from an actors, this. I literally just pitched him in like 3 minutes. And then I gave him that document that we had. And he scanned, that document in like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And then he stood up and he's like, come here. And then I went to him, and then I think, he shook my hand and said, this is what we want on campus. This is the kind of, programs that students should be a part of. I'm sorry to mention, but he said, instead of going to SUV and doing all those toggery things, this is what you should do. This is, a part. And then he literally gave me direct access to him. And he mentioned that if you ever need anything, I'm the guy to meet. His name is Dr. Ashade. He's late now. God rest his soul. And then he said, anything you ever need, come meet me. At one point, they actually took me to his house and introduced me to his wife as his son because of what an actor was doing. And, I would call him, he would advise me, he kept his word. He was always there. And that stuck to me. I wasn't even a team lead at the time. I was, just, an ordinary member. But that situation stuck to me. And I just told myself there was no going back. If someone loved me just because someone who knew me from nowhere, and he paid attention to me, and he gave me access that an average student would literally not get. And that access also gave me access to the vice chancellor at different times, as a student. So that stood out for me. Let's talk a little bit about enactors and volunteering. I had my own challenges the moment I became a team lead for enactors, because enactors, you learn a lot, but it also drive you crazy if you're not careful. So what was your experience like as a team lead? Now somebody called you half, and then you wanted to prove that, look, I'm not half. Now you are in that same position as a team lead, because I remember you're also a team lead, with that organization. Eventually you became the team lead at the same position the lady held. What were the challenges you faced? How were you able to manage leading enactors at the time when I was leading enactors, plus or minus? We probably had like 200 students at a time. I also had another organization outside of, of campus, Titaners Networks, that we probably had maybe another 150. I was the welfare department officer of my department. I was the brothers coordinator of, of my fellowship. And then I had schoolwork, and then I was still doing business on the side. I was selling clothing. I would go to Lagos Island and buy shirts and ties and, stuff, cufflinks, and then sell them on campus. So I was juggling all of these things together. So it was a really crazy period, for me. How were you able to manage, schoolwork and an actor as a student?
It was impossible, quite honestly. So really, I had to take what was of more priority to me, quite honestly. So as a team lead, I knew the team's responsibility wasn't me. Before I was team lead, I was project manager. So it also did give me a lot of probably more insider view about what really goes on in leadership position within an actors and all of that. So I was able to very quickly identify all of the challenges that we had internally that I had to solve and what was preventing us from achieving victory at Enactus and all. Because we've been trying so hard to win the national competition. I knew at that time we'd never won it and we've been trying so hard to win it and all. And I realized that we had the talent to do it. We had everything necessary to get to win. And what we didn't have was the mindset of win. And that can make a huge difference in how you see yourself. We always saw ourselves as victims rather than victors. And that's identification of that problem. It took me time to be able to understand this, quite honestly. But when I could create some mindset shifts within my members, I think that's what's probably what gave us the biggest victory we ever had on the team. So it was two things really. As team lead, I was able to identify what exactly is the biggest limitation to us winning or being victorious in what we did. And it was first, we're limited on finances. We were a state university, so typically we don't have access to so much funds. Also, we didn't get so much funds from the university and all of that at that time because they didn't see the impact we were making initially. So it was difficult to make money or raise money for the team, and that was needed to impact lives as well because projects were not cheap at all. So first, I identified the financial constraints we had as a team, and then the mindset shift that was also required. So it's more like a recipe. If I fix these two things and I plug them together, I'm quite sure that we'll be able to get the victory that we had. And what exactly did I do? I tried to see how exactly can I fix these two things. So I focused heavily on getting external funding from grants and all of that as a student. So I found ways in which we could win money that would then give us the leverage to execute project and all of that. So I focused so much on that, on ensuring that we're able to apply for as much as grant possible at that time. And then we did that. And quite a number of them came out successfully. We did get quite a number of funding at that time and took us really out of poverty, quite honestly.
As a student, you were already applying for grants. As a
Absolutely.
student.
Exactly. I can't count the number of grant application I spent my night working on to ensure that we get it. I would probably have sleepless completing grant applications.
What kind of organizations were you applying to?
So, quite a number of the organizations were organizations that had funded initiatives for projects done in Africa, from Ford Foundation to Mastercard Foundation. Typically, any grant I then see that targets our own demography and were able to support projects like ours. So we got quite a number of these grants from the Ford Foundation, Art Foundation. We also got from BIC as well. So quite a number of these grants, I just typically targeted them, such as submitted projects that we're working on that fit into the criteria they're also looking at. I think I had to take a course on grant writing at that time, and that gave me better perspective into what exactly these organizations require to ensure that I'm able to position what we did directly to the outcome they're also looking to achieve, because they don't just fund projects. They typically fund project that advances their own mission as well. So I was able to understand that very clearly, and that we were able to plug in what we did to ensure that they are achieving their mission and we are getting the cash that supports our own work. And that really changed a lot of things. On the mindset shift, I realized that quite a number of my team members were seeing themselves as victims. I would go to a national competition and we didn't win and we come back, we're sad and all of that. And then I realized that if I can change that perspective of we begin to see ourselves as victors, quite honestly, we can get to do unimaginable things, really. It started with me intentionally creating an anthem that we would recite at every single meeting. And the reason for that anthem was just to ensure that there's a mindset shift. that they would not only come to meeting and see themselves as working on projects and doing all of these things, but they begin to see themselves as true winners. And that way, it creates this atmosphere. There's just a spirit that then comes in that sees that makes you see yourself as victors, basically. So they no longer do pity party of, or we go to national competition, we say win, and it's because XYZ organization is being funded heavily by so it prevented them from giving excuses for things they could have done. Really, it prevented them from giving excuses for why other organizations or why other schools were winning and we couldn't win. But instead, we were just trying to see how exactly can we win with the resources that we had and all. So that mindset shift was really important. It was funny that I went to school probably about a year ago, and the anthem that we started probably 4 or 5 years ago was still being sung and all. But it wasn't an anthem. Quite a number of them think it's an official Enactus anthem, but it was just an anthem that I created to ensure that the my members had a mindset shift. And that drove them to achieving greater, having a renewed thinking that then makes them see themselves as winners. I ensure that we're going to the national competition with the best outfits possible. We would usually go as losers before even the way we're dressed. You would already see that we probably don't intend to win in the first place. So all of these little changes made unimaginable impact in the way that my members saw themselves. And that way, fixing those two things really did change the perspectives of people and also the outcome that we had.
Quick question. So, at what you came up with these strategies to actually, bring about a turnaround result wise? What age were you when, you were doing all of this? You were 18. Look, the reason why, one of the reasons why, definitely I had to ask that question is some people think that wisdom comes with age. I don't think so. I have, had the opportunity. I'm very close to 40, very, very close to 40. And actually, I celebrated my birthday yesterday. And in, this few years of existing, I've met 50-year-old men and women who are not smart at all. When they speak, you know that, what are you talking about? And I've met 18-year-olds who you have 10 minutes conversations with, and then your head is turning. You're like, who's this kid? And because of the kind of society that we come from, we associate age with wisdom. Which sometimes is one of the reasons why we are where we are today in terms of both economically. We don't pay attention to our young minds, young, brilliant, smart minds. We don't pay attention to them. We subjugate them under the guise of, age. And then we just assume that they don't know what they're talking about. But they know, they're smart. Most of them know things
Absolutely.
that you can only read in fictional books. So as at 18, you're already causing a shift in the mindset. You're already causing a shift in, the way things were done on the team because you were probably exposed to some other thing. So what made you feel or what made you think that, trying out, because we always try stuff out. What made you feel that trying out those things would cause a change or will bring about a positive outcome?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. All right. I think it was one of the quotes I really got access to. And it was that I think it was a quote and it said, find a group of committed people, or the only people that can really change the world are a group of committed people. And quite honestly, we did have committed people and all. And if we want to create change, and we already had committed people that can drive this change and all. So then reading quite a number of leadership books and then having understanding about how transformation happens, how do you create turnaround strategies and all of this. I got to read a lot about businesses. I got to read a lot about business leaders, Indra Noini and all of these things, and how she transformed Pepsi into a more purposeful company and all of this. So all of this understanding made me realize that if you're gonna want to change the outcome of something, you cannot continue with the same strategy and expect a different results. So if you keep doing the same thing, if you keep doing the same process, you can't expect a different result. So that understanding about if you want to change the outcome of something, you don't repeat the same process. Typically, you have to create a different process that then brings the outcome at all. And then studying business leaders that have created huge transformation in way business is being done, that understanding probably exposed me to the reason we were failing. And then I was able to create a transformation. Reading books about performance with purpose that was crafted by Indra Noni and all of that, about how if I can find something that drives like people to do big things, that way they are able to stay committed to the cause and are able to do big things. When they find something that they are intuitively really, really driven by, it drives them to want to do big things and all. So oftentimes you would have to find something that is bigger than yourself. When you are able to share the vision that is bigger than individuals, they inherently become so what's it called? What I call it, committed to driving it, basically. So it was really studying business leaders. It was getting exposed to the way of business really in the world. Because I saw Enactors as not just a student volunteer organization. It was like me running any single business. Typically, I was the CEO of Enactors. That's how I saw it, really. And if Janoni wanted to bring change in PepsiCo, and then this is how she did it. If I replicate the same thing, I'm able to get the same results. So really, and that's why I talked about if you want to change the outcome of things, you change the process involved in it. And that way you are able to get better results in whatever you're trying to do, basically. So yeah, that understanding brought about a transformation.
So in other words, you paid attention to um, building or developing other skills outside of the biology course you were studying.
Was I studying biology? I can't remember studying. I don't think I ever remember I was studying biology in uni, quite honestly, because joining actors and understanding business, that was when I discovered that that's where my real interest lies. That I would spend the most of my time learning about business. I would spend so much time reading about what's it called? Mission, typically creating pitch decks and what's it called? Learning about every single thing out of biology. Really, I would spend more time reading all the things not related to biology. So quite honestly, I would not see myself as a biologist. I wasn't really a biologist. I was probably more a student in entrepreneurship than biology. So I probably spent more time learning entrepreneurship and business than I was learning biology, really. So yeah, really, I found purpose. I found what I really enjoyed. I found what I really loved. And that way I was able to place more priority on what would matter better to me. So yeah, that was really it. I don't think yeah, I did. I almost left biology completely, but I did graduate with good grades. I just ensured I was able to stay not afloat, but I was doing exceptionally well in my academics. I would spend time reading what needs to be read, and then also spend time reading to ensure that I'm able to ensure better performance within my team as well.
Awesome. In my own case, what actually happened was I had a lecturer in my department teaching ENT. I'm sure you must have taken that course as well. I think it's a general course that is taught in the school on campus. The lecturer in charge of my department actually gave me that course to teach as a student. So I was teaching the course, and his name is Dr. Lemo. God bless you, sir, for believing in me. He just met me one day and then was like, look, I think you understand this ENT thing better. You understand this entrepreneurship thing a lot, and you might be able to speak it properly to your colleagues. So I'll take one and then you take another class. So most times we would interchange, and it was fun, just teaching my colleagues about the entrepreneurship. I was also learning on the job,
Mhm.
but I was reading
Absolutely.
a lot of books. I was attending events, trainings, seminars, conferences, as a student. And I think that, that cemented my interest in, the business world and building businesses and systems and processes and all that kind of stuff. So I know that you did go through all of those things, but I think that today we have a ton of graduates in the marketplace today. People go to school, they graduate with 2-1, 2-2, some, even first class graduates. But it's unfortunate that most of them are not employable because they actually didn't learn the skill set required for, the marketplace. What did you do different?
I think two things: learn quickly, fail quickly, and that probably really helped me. I studied biology. I already knew from my second year that I wasn't going to use it to do anything really because I was probably better in something else entirely. And then I started working in entrepreneurship and all of that. But was I really challenged into a particular career path? I wasn't really. And I just thought anything that comes my way, I'll probably hop on it. And then that way it works. So my first job after school was, or typically during NYSC, was then in operations. I joined an agricultural tech startup. I was leading operations there. And it was a really exciting job, really, because I got to see how the system works, how processes work in there. I got to see how typically the food that gets on my table, how it gets made and how much of work the farmers do to ensure that outcome. I traveled to a ton of states and it was really, really difficult. But what I said about learning quickly and failing quickly is that in the midst of all this, I knew I wasn't great at operations. I was not so great at it. I didn't enjoy sitting or what's it called, traveling so much because it required I travel so much. I had to visit quite a number of states and all of that. And I didn't enjoy that really. So I had to learn quickly. And then it was my first job after school, leading operations for an agricultural tech startup that was doing millions that have probably never passed through my hands before and all of that. So I had to learn so much. I had to read so much. I had to understand systems. I had to speak to people that I would probably not speak to. And I had mentors I'll speak to. These are things that is going on and all of that. So I did learn so much, but I wasn't great at the job, quite honestly. I wasn't doing so well. But I was probably good at the job, but I didn't enjoy doing it as well, is another thing. So I learned quickly that probably that's just not my path. And I realized I was probably spending more time learning about the company's brand or trying to protect the company's brand image and how its marketing initiatives were being run. I was chief operating officer, but I was concerned about the logo of the company and how it wasn't looking so great at all. So while I was working operations, I realized that even my journey through in actors, I was focusing on some certain things. I was paying attention more to some certain things that ordinarily people wouldn't pay attention to. In actors' colors, I was paying so much attention to how the brand is being represented, how we need to create an intentional color for ourselves, how we need to fix our website to ensure that it looks great to attract. Unintentionally, I was doing things that then was defining my career path where I was not just intentional about it. And then joining the agricultural tech startup, I was concerned about how the company logo looked, how many followers they had on Instagram, how did the audience perceive the organization and all of these things. I also spent a lot of time watching business ads. So I begin to watch advertisements. I spent so much time analyzing it and what worked and what didn't work and all of these things. But I didn't know that it was really about an interest that I had inside of me, and that's what is typically making me do all of these things without paying attention to it. So while I failed quickly, was it called in operations, I learned quickly that I was probably more driven into the marketing. Really, I wanted to learn marketing so much. I enjoyed marketing so much. Unintentionally, I was doing so much about in marketing without knowing it already. So I had to learn quickly that probably I wanted to do marketing instead. Probably it excited me more than any other thing, how brands are being represented, how they communicate with their customers, and how they attract customers as well. So yeah, I did learn so quickly, and then I realized I enjoyed marketing so much. I probably wanted to pay more attention to that than any other thing. So I started taking so much courses. I'd never taken so much interest in marketing. I was while my job was in operation, I was learning about project management, what's it called? Strategy and operation management and all of those things. So I was learning so much about them. I was getting business book around those areas and I wasn't learning marketing so much, but I was doing so much in marketing already. So at the time I discovered that I had real interest in marketing, I started paying attention to that and developed myself in that area. I started buying marketing books, taking courses on marketing and all of that. So yeah, I did learn or fail quickly in my operations role and then learn quickly that I wanted to do marketing instead. So going from studying biology to learning that I wanted to do entrepreneurship, to learning that I wanted to specialize in operations, to learning that I didn't enjoy operations, that I wanted to do marketing. Those were like phases of life that I probably went through. And it did take some time and some post-full intent work as well that ensured that I was able to get the right outcome. So I think people need to ensure that they just see themselves, or young people need to ensure that, or see themselves beyond roles and titles. They need to see themselves more as who they want to be really and what they want to do really. And they also need to see themselves or typically understand that I can be anything I want to be really. And once they understand that and they're able to um make themselves, it's that we are more like sponge really and can absorb anything really and can do almost anything. So if one area isn't working, I can fix that area really. And learning that can probably transform one's life in miraculous ways really. Because not many people just get their first job in maybe teaching and stay there through their life because they never realized that I had greater potential of what I wanted to be, or they get their first job in X, Y, and they didn't enjoy it so much, but they just thought, there's nothing I can do about it. I already studied engineering, so I have to be an engineer all my life and all. Or probably I studied biology and I probably have to be a teacher in biology education all my life and all. And they don't realize that really ideas though doesn't come fully formed. We just realize that we're in different stages of our life and we're evolving in all of those stages. I can wake up tomorrow and really realize that I don't want to do marketing anymore, quite honestly. And I wouldn't see it or as a limiting factor in any way. I'll probably just pick up the next thing and work so hard to get in it and ensure that I'm the best at that thing. And I mentioned something about unfair advantage is also really, really important. And that's one thing that I think people need to pay attention to, that we oftentimes try to work on our weaknesses, but instead what we should do is amplify your strengths. We try as much as possible to want to work on areas that we are not really good at. While I was working operations, I was probably not so good at it. I hated traveling. I could have focused so much energy in trying to be good at operations and all of that. And then I already had an unfair advantage. What does unfair advantage really mean? Is that probably area that you are already really good at and probably have this advantage at it? I speak so beautifully. People often comment about how excellent I am in communications and all of that. And I write really beautifully as well. So all of these things are already unfair advantage I have that can make me advance quickly in marketing because I can perceive things that others wouldn't and all of this. So that would help me prepare for a tremendous career in marketing. So when you're able to identify your unfair advantage, probably you're a really good systems person. You understand how to develop system and put systems in place. You are a talented analytical person already. So if you're able to align all of this unfair advantage in designing your career, I think it's also really important as well, where you create structures and systems in place that then amplifies what you're already good at, and that way you compete at a different level from others, quite honestly.
If you're to mention three life lessons that you picked along the way as a student in Pipeline University and as, the team lead for an actors, what would those three lessons be? What would they be?
Three lessons. Quisera. What would you have to create what you want? What to be? I learned probably first that Sarah doesn't work really. It's not what would be. What you want to be would be. Since whatever you accept, whatever you allow, that would be, and that's really it.
That's
The
one.
second would be, yeah, the second would be that um find something you're committed in, that you get committed in doing. For me as an undergraduate, it was entrepreneurship and it was volunteering really. So spend time volunteering. Use your efforts, use your skill and not paid work. That way you're able to sharpen those skills more and not owe anybody because of you didn't deliver an excellent job, really. Spend more time volunteering. It helps you identify so much of your strengths. It helps you identify what you really um talented in doing. And it also helps you make an impact in the world and also network with people as well. Things like this open so much doors to you that you would never imagine, from international opportunities to access to people and places to exclusive circles and all of this. And so the second would be spend time
The
doing
third now.
purposeful
That's the
works.
third one.
Yeah, sorry.
That's the third one.
That'll be the second one.
Okay.
I think it's typically been linked with volunteering, and spending time doing committed work. The third one would be really don't be afraid if things doesn't work out how you expect them to work out. I said ideas don't come fully formed. You can only connect it dots looking backward. You can never connect it looking forward. Things change and just embrace change and be ready to create a different process out of it, really. Just take life as it comes and then create something beautiful out of it.
Awesome. Quick question: is school a scam, and why?
I think it's decisions that we make, really. It can be a scam and it cannot be a scam as well. All decisions and outcome of whatever decisions you make while in school.
But it boils down to your decisions as an individual.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So next question will be, I'm trying to quickly round this off. We're almost at time. What are you doing now, and how did you get into that role?
I currently work in marketing for a business school. And how did I get into the role? It was true. I did a program at the same business school. It was my first marketing, my second marketing job, really. I did a program in school, and then I had a conversation with the faculty in the school in marketing. And then he had an opening probably about 6 months afterwards. And then he said, "Oh, to me, I think you'd be really talented for this role." And then he just said, "Would I like to interview for it?" And that's how I got into the business school.
So if you're a staff of a business school, you must come across a lot of founders. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges that the founders community in Nigeria experience today or face today?
I think one of the things we have founders complain a lot about is how, like, how Nigeria really is, how the African market is quite unpredictable, from policy reforms to consumer behavior changing to dollar rising and falling and all of these things. There's just so much uncertainty when you're playing in the African markets. You have limited access to funding, yet you want to solve the world's biggest problems. So I think the uncertainty really is what they get to complain a lot about. I want to do big things, but the markets would just repel it, quite honestly. So I think that's one of the biggest complaints we have, the founders make. The market is just really unpredictable.
Oh, okay. If you could change one thing, if you go back 5 years or 6 years ago as a student, what would be that one thing that you would change, and why?
I could change one thing. I probably learned to monetize my skill much more faster than I did. Yeah, I think there's something I'd like to speak about. And it is understanding when you move from volunteering to getting paid for the work you do. And I think I learned that quite late. When you commit yourself a lot to volunteering and you're not being paid for the work you do, and moving from that to paid, I don't want to call it paid labor, but typically moving from a mindset of I want to do things to make an impact in the world and do big things and all of that. So ensuring that people are also ready to pay you for their service as well is also really, it requires a mindset shift as well, that you're able to demand what you're worth as well. So I think if there's one thing I can change is to understand my worth quickly in monetary value for the work I deliver. Volunteering can make you very easily not understand the worth of what you bring into the marketplace because you're already doing it without getting paid for it. So moving very quickly and understanding to ensure that you understand the value of the work you do. And even if you're doing it as a volunteer project, what would I ordinarily be paid for XYZ projects could really help you understand that quickly. And you can make money faster when you transition from delivering free work to delivering something being paid for, really. So I think that's one thing I probably failed to learn so quickly about how I can translate the work I already do into paid
Awesome.
work, basically.
Awesome. The final question. This is a question I'd like to ask everyone. If you were to recommend one book, what book would that be, and why?
I'll go quite basic, and it's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. A fantastic book, understanding people, and then motivation and understanding real leadership. Quite honestly, it helps you understand you can influence typically anybody to get to do things for you without making them feel like horrible persons, really. I think it's a really fantastic book on understanding people and understanding human behavior and how to get results through.
Thank you so much, Tomilola. I really appreciate you making time, sharing your journey, your wins, some of the challenges you face, and you just want to, wish you all the best in your future endeavor. I think you're on the right path, and in just a few years, I actually see you becoming or leading some of the biggest brands, in Nigeria and maybe globally as well. Thank you so much for making time. And to our
Thank you.
viewers
I
and
had such
everyone
a good
who's going
time
to come in
talking to you all.
contact with this podcast, if you enjoyed this chat, this conversation, please share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Remember that clarity comes through conversation, and purpose grows when we show up. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, and bye for now.